When we thought of sailing the BC coast, places like this came to mind. 7,000-foot mountains lost in clouds, turquoise glacial water, and waterfalls cascading down to the sea. It's surreal to find ourselves here at the head of one of British Columbia's longest fjords. The sheer beauty of this place absolutely takes your breath away. But getting here wasn't easy. Last week we sailed through strong winds, ominous skies, with lots of anxiety on board. How are we going to anchor once we get to the head of this inlet?
There's nothing on Navionics on the charts to suggest that you should anchor here and that it's safe, there's good holding, you're protected from the wind. So it's a little bit of like an exploratory kind of anchoring situation.
Luckily, we have no dramas to report so far from our nights on anchor here, but we can say that the fishing is really good.
I think that's the biggest fish you've ever pulled in. Cool, good catch.
Join us aboard our 30-foot floating home this week as we share a glimpse of what it's like to live off-grid and from the wild here in the farthest reach of Canada's glacial fjords.
Ahoy, land pirates, here we are on the land. We're embracing land love of life here in Dean Channel. It's quite nice. We're now tied up to the log boom. The boom log?
Log boom.
Log boom. It's a giant log floating around in the bay here that's anchored to the ocean floor. I believe that it's a remnant of the old logging operation that used to be up here, but it's still hanging out here, and it's a great place to tie up if you happen to be up in the Upper Dean, because anchoring is really quite few and far between. And even where the log boom is just offshore is like 150 feet deep.
So when we arrived here, we were told to go anchor at Manitou Bay, which is where we spent the past 2 nights, and we're only now coming to check out Kim's Quit. Brought the boat over, tied it up to the log boom, dinghied to shore, and we've just been sort of wandering around. Got to chatting with some of the staff working here, and they suggested that we go and hike to the waterfall.
There's this huge one that you see here in the background of all the shots. It looks absolutely phenomenal pouring off the mountain here. And apparently it's just a short little hike up to the base of it, and I think that'd be a pretty cool way to stretch our legs after being on the boat for like a week or so.
Yeah, super stoked to go check that out. It looks beautiful, so let's go do it.
Yeah, let's check it out.
First obstacle.
Very cool. I love old vans. They're like the coolest chrome features. Like, look at those handles. Isn't that sick?
It's pretty sweet.
And this luggage rack on top. That would have been so skookum.
Reclaimed.
I know. I almost want to just like pull it out of the bush and like restore it.
Gosh, we have enough projects.
I know, but it has a flat windshield. Isn't that sick? So we made it through the forested trail that was overgrown in places, but overall like fairly easy to follow. And we've come out into this kind of rocky creek bed area, which is kind of just a straight shot up to the beautiful waterfall that we see here. My guessing is that like every spring when the snow melts, like the river finds a different route down the hill, because there's like huge washouts and then a big pile of rocks, then more huge washouts. So I'd say the creek kind of just meanders seasonally, as do we. But this is a beautiful falls. The upper reaches of Dean Channel are currently closed for crabbing as part of the crab closures, so no crabbing up here. I'm gonna go drop a prawn trap. One of the main traps that we use here on our boat is this flex fold combo trap. It's really nice. It like twists up and packs away completely flat, which is really handy for a sailboat. And it also converts between being a crab trap and a prawn trap. You have these plastic plates that fit over your crab gates, and they just clip into place, and then you have the woven nets on the side that your prawns can go into. It's really convenient. I really like this product. Pretty new to prawning, so we don't really know what the best bait is. I'm told lots of people use cat food, so I bought an assortment of discounted cat food. Today we're going to try Whiskers kitty food, turkey and giblets dinner. We'll see how the prawns like it. Maybe it catches lots of prawns, maybe they don't like turkey giblets like kitties do. Pretty cute little cat though. I went super cheap and got the 50% off stuff, which means that it's expired and will hopefully be extra stinky. We just pop it in one of these little plastic pots that has holes in the top, and it just permeates its scent. About half a mile up here, there's a really steep rock face that goes down to about 350 feet. From what I'm told, you want a prawn in between 300 and 400 feet. I have it on fairly good authority that the prawns move from vertical surfaces to the horizontal bottoms overnight. So if you drop your trap at the base of a cliff where it transitions from being vertical to being horizontal, then that's where the prawns kind of move to, and will find your trap rather than just like dumping it anywhere. So I found a shelf just down the way here, and I'm going to drop it right on the bottom of the cliff. That's where I set the last trap, where we got 9 prawns. So that's currently our record is 9. So we'll see if we can beat our previous record and see if prawns like tuna and giblets dinner. I used salmon dinner last time, thinking that, you know, prawns probably eat more salmon than they eat turkey out here. But you don't know about the prawns of the Upper Dean. They might be fans of turkey. Who knows? We're gonna find out.
All right, good luck.
The problem with prawning in a tiny dinghy is that all of your gear takes up the entirety of the dinghy. You got like 400 feet of line, primary float, secondary float, trap. We have just arrived here at my prawning location. This cliff that you see behind me here drops off pretty well straight down to the bottom of the inlet. So this is where we're gonna drop our trap. I just gotta prepare the cat food in the trap, get it all tied up onto the line, and we can pop her in the water. If I was a prawn, I would definitely eat that. Well, that's the trap down. I hope there was actually enough line for it to hit the bottom. I marked it on Navionics where it is, so I'll come back in an hour or so just to double check the float to make sure that it hasn't drifted. I think you're meant to use like a weight to weigh the trap down so that you can't anchor it to the ocean floor. I'm still learning here, so I'll just pop back in a little bit just to make sure it hasn't drifted.
We were just casually going for a jig out here, and I guess I caught something.
I think that's the biggest fish you've ever pulled in. Cool, good catch. Well, I guess we have to take him back to the boat and deal with him.
Yeah, I like this fishing thing. I'm good at it.
She is. Al's like a natural born fisherman. I think it's the new Fiona.
James and I were just out in the dinghy having a little jig, and I caught myself a pretty massive fish.
There he is.
That's him.
Big guy. He's like half the size of you.
Yeah, he's pretty decent.
Can you hold him up like to your head? Yeah. Well, that's many meals.
It's quite a few meals. 32 inches. Almost 3 feet. That's a pretty respectable size.
It's a nice big fish.
Yeah, let's take some fillets off him. Wow. pretty big fillet.
It's like 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Nice work.
I guess the seal will end up grabbing him. Well, we have trimmed up all of the fish. We have all of our fillets here, which are all deboned, trimmed up, skinned off, made nice and neat and tidy, and everything else that kind of got saved got diced up. And we're gonna make that into some ceviche. We're having ceviche for dinner because it's really the best way to use fresh fish. And once you do all the trimming up, there's all these like bellies and tails and otherwise bits that are harder to use. So ceviche is an excellent solution to that problem. We're also pouring through one of our favorite cruising guides. We've been finding that exploring the north coast of British Columbia, although a little bit older, actually has the most useful information in terms of all of the anchorages and all the stuff that's in the off-beaten path. Really good book, highly recommended if you're looking at getting out and exploring some of the coast that like isn't really along so much of the main inside passage cruising route that everybody does. Highly recommended. We found this copy in New Zealand, would you believe it, after we arrived in Apua after our 15-day crossing. It was just sitting there in the laundry room with all of the Pacific Northwest charts, coincidentally. I guess somebody sailed across on their circumnavigation and had decided to ditch all of their books that they no longer needed. So we brought it back with us and have been quite enjoying it. We also have several other ones. We have Charlie's charts. We've got some Dream Speaker guides. This was the first one that we ever got, was the best anchorages of the inside passage. We actually bought this book well and truly before we even bought a boat. It's pretty cool. Allison bought it for me for my birthday, which I think was a subtle hint that she wanted a boat. So between all of those resources, that's where we kind of look to when we want inspiration about where we want to go. Would recommend definitely north coast of British Columbia. That's definitely the best. The rest of them, you know, hit or miss, depends where you want to go. Good for getting the imagination going and getting you dreaming about where it is you can possibly go with your boat. But definitely north coast of British Columbia for actual information about anchoring in the places that there is to go. Well, that sucks, but it's also not the worst because we have too much halibut anyway, but I guess that's answered the question. Prawns don't like turkey and giblets.
Well, it's been an incredible couple of days up here at the head of Dean Channel. We have been absolutely spoiled with spectacular views up here. We're still anchored to this log boom, just sort of outside of where the fishing resort is. And our view outside of the companionway is of this incredible waterfall, and you can just hear it cascading down the granite. And we've been falling asleep to that. The other thing that we've been enjoying is that halibut that we caught a couple of days ago. Because we don't have refrigeration on the boat, it's been a feeding frenzy of trying to finish all of this halibut before it goes bad. So we've just sort of been cooking it for every single meal. James is down in the galley right now cooking up some more halibut.
We've been having halibut quite a few different ways in the last few days. We tried ceviche, which, although delicious, was a little harsh on the stomach. We did a pesto walnut crusted halibut that was absolutely divine. We've done fish cakes, and now I'm just trying to do this like curry batter rice flour thing.
Yum.
But I think it would work better if you deep fried it, because then it would just like all together at once rather than having to roll it. We made a red curry the other day with the leftover of our vegetables that were going bad, and it's starting to ferment a little bit, which is fine. Like, that's great. It's all good bacteria for your gut. It's kind of like kimchi meets curry, if that makes sense. So we're gonna have this like battered curried fish on top of it, and it's gonna be absolutely delicious. And that's basically gonna wrap up the rest of the halibut. We fried the rest of the halibut off so that we can make fish cakes for tomorrow's motor out of here. That way we can just have easy handhelds while we helm and sit back and relax. And I'm guessing that at some point during the day, the wind's going to build up and we'll end up beating upwind. It's just a matter of how far you get out of the inlet before you inevitably have to beat upwind. So we're going to get started really early, and hopefully we only have to beat upwind for like halfway.
Wow. Did you do gymnastics?
Yeah, I had a mad floor routine. We put some halibut down on the end of the float for our seal friends to come and gorge on, and then I just chummed the water with a little snippet of it to like entice them in. I'm not really quite sure why, but it'd be cool to see them come and get it.
We have too much fish.
We have too much fish is the main
hi.
problem.
They're there.
Oh, there they are. Guys, this is over there.
Join us next week for our final voyage out of the fjords. Now we're sailing! Oh, I come to life when the engine turns off. I noticed that there is a grizzly bear feeding on the beach, pretty close to our boat.
But now we get to watch the grizzly bear from a hot tub.
Crazy. Sailing our way to an abandoned ghost town. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Give this one a thumbs up, and thank you for watching. Extra big thanks to our patrons for supporting the continued production of our videos. Y'all are legends. We'll see you next week.